So my name is Matt French, and we're in Amherstburg, Ontario. It's a little town just south of Windsor, about 30 minutes, right on the Detroit River. As you can see, we're driving along the riverfront now. It's a real sleepy town. I was born and raised here, so I spent all except the 5 years I was in the military in this town. Very historical, very tied to the World Wars. There's a lot of guys that served here. It has mansions. You'll see that there's nothing like it anywhere else in the world, and I think there's only one other one in North America that would even compare. So that just got actually purchased by the town. There's some B&Bs down here for the summertime. There's a lot of festivals. We have Fort Malden and the King's Navy Yard downtown. They're like a park. You can walk up and down the side of the river, and they just put up a new development kind of sandwiching the park and the river with a storefront. So that's brand new to this town. That's never been here before. Down here, we have our Coast Guard base. That's active all year round. It's search and rescue in the summer and ice breaking in the winter. This little block right here, just adjacent to downtown, has all the high rises, mostly elderly. As you can see, it's dogs and lawnmowers in a town like this. If you hear a dog barking, you hear the lawnmower going. And they're all condos, so they're separately being sold off. But there's a Toronto buyer that has his thumb on the pulse of these buildings, and the second that they go up, there's absolutely no conditions, cash offer, super fast close. You can't even get in to see these things. They're gone right away. Brings them to market rents. No one has a choice because there's absolutely nothing to rent in here. You can see they're doing a 4-story building right here. Actually, I have a soon-to-be brother-in-law or cousin-in-law doing the concrete coring in that building. So it's going to be a total of 4 stories when they're complete. Commercial on the first and residential on the next 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool. And then so just kind of talk us through, so, you know, when you were growing up, the town was like 20,000? Yeah,
it was 20,000. There wasn't really much industry or anything in this town. It really consists of like the Chrysler workers from Windsor, you know, first responders, police, stuff like that, or retired folk. So it's not, you don't have to worry about an industry going bust for rent here. So people come down here to get away. It's really quiet, really small town. And just recently, with all the development going on, the population's really started to explode. We used to have a little A&P grocery store here. They completely tore it down and built a Walmart with Mark's, Gilligan's. There's a couple of banks, a dollar store. You can see it's really catering to these small families that are starting to come into these new builds.
And so I think, you know, probably one of the first questions today my fans are going to have are BRRRRs and 1% rule. Is that possible here?
Right now it is, definitely. Windsor, it is tough in Windsor. There's a lot of activity, a lot of competition in Windsor. But I started there, and I kind of started to migrate out this way because there's not as much competition. Everyone knows each other here in town, so it's, you know, if there's something gonna pop up, and you drive around every day, so you see every single lot. It's such a small town. But yeah, the 1% rule, very, very doable. BRRRRing properties here, very doable right now. I have a feeling that it's going to get really, really busy this year with that kind of stuff. And I'll drive you by one that I wish I didn't have that offer in my place, because this place is 5 houses from my house, so I could literally walk there and saved the half-an-hour drive there and back every day. But that's okay. Maybe next.
So walk us through an example deal that you might be able to find today on the MLS.
So one that I missed out on, and it's a actual deal that could have happened. There was a house that went up for $120. It was right around the corner from my place. Easily, you could double the ARV on that. And
And so what sort of renovations were needed?
When I went through, the only renovations that really needed to be done were light fixtures and paint.
So really just a lipstick flip?
Just like, yeah, and I don't even know if you'd, maybe just a clear coat on the stuff, because there's like solid oak cabinets in there, brand new kitchen, brand new laminate flooring through the whole thing. The trim looked in good shape, so yeah, it was really a few $1,000s, and you'd easily be able to get your money out of it.
So this was a single family home you could buy for $120, spend.
That's correct.
$10,000 or less in rentals, you figure?
Yeah. The biggest thing with this one instance is the garage had no door and no exterior. So they had done the roof right before it went up on the market. So you'd probably have to spend, you know, maybe $10,000 to put on a good exterior, a good door, make it all automatic, maybe some exterior lighting and stuff, fix it up a little bit. But the house itself, it had, I mean, you could have bought this thing and house hacked easily. I think it had 6 bedrooms. It's been added on.
Oh, wow.
Over the years. And I think it even said that at one time it had a kind of a granny in-law suite in the basement, but it not even close to enough height down there. So it was made back into the house. But I mean, very, very easily could have gotten close to 300 of evaluation on that house. That BRRRR.
With the new siding?
Yep.
It already looked like that.
Yep, already looked like that. New siding, new windows. I'll spin back around and pull in. Yep, new siding, new windows. It had new appliances on the inside, brand new kitchen. Didn't have any damage or anything like that.
For 120.
I think
that's a lot of house.
There might have been a competition, it might have sold a little over, but that's what it was listed at. So I would say most of the work is probably in that fence along the side of the house and the garage.
Wow, that's actually really good.
Yeah, there's really almost nothing to do in the house.
And so tell us a bit about the vacancy rate here.
The vacancy rate last year was 1.6 and 1.6 where I have my deal, and 1.4-ish around here. I think in Windsor, Essex County, the highest vacancy rate is 4%.
And so for my viewers, where do you find this sort of stuff out?
Just talking to people and digging on the internet. Like, I don't have a big network, so I have no, I'm kind of backed into a corner the way I have to find my my information. I have a friend that can get like the Geo Warehouse stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have the membership for it, but I have somebody that does. So I can figure out at least what someone bought it for before everything started going crazy. But there's that, just online forums, bigger pockets. You know, I haven't really contributed much to it, but I definitely taken a lot away from it.
Well, and you're kind of changing that now, right? Because you're starting your first meetup tonight.
And you and Jeff kind of got me on that idea when you guys came down the first time and we were looking at all those boarded up properties in the West End. If there's no one here, create it. So I did. It's here.
Oh, okay. This is where you actually live?
This is where I actually live.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It looked, I'll back up. It looked worse than the White House on the other side.
Yeah. Do you have before photos?
Yeah.
That you can send me?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
yeah, send me a photo or two.
So yeah, I started on the inside, took it completely out to the sheeting. The exterior walls were 2x4 rough cut. The house is about 150 years old. It had 2x4 rough cut on the outside, and they were all different sizes, so I couldn't just strap it and then sheet it again, because you'd have a wavy wall. So I actually had to go around, build all new knee walls on the inside on the first floor, and take every 2x4 out and replace it with a 2x6 one at a time. And I did on the first floor. After I got through that, I actually found some structure problems, so I had to completely take the center column of the house out. And I have an army buddy that's a construction engineer. We sat down and did the math and actually rebuilt the entire interior of the house. Stick framed it one stick at a time, just like the old way. And then once that was done, I went on the outside and took the outside completely down to the insulation layer on the inside, and redid the outside with sheeting and siding.
Can you walk us through the numbers on this?
Yeah, so I did not plan any of this. I didn't even know what a BRRRR was until about 2 months before I tried to refinance. So I bought it in 2014 for $170. It was a private sale. Actually, my friend's wife was walking down the street when the lady was pounding in the sign, and she's like, hey, it's right around the corner from us, you should buy it, it's really nice, got a big garage. At the time I had a business, so the garage was really nice for that. So I had walked through, they were just painting when I walked through, so I was like, oh, okay, well, there's, you know, great, this house here, the same time that I bought it, sold for $380. It was listed at $380. So I was like, well, at least I know, worst comes to worst, I can sell it for a little more.
Yeah.
Right out of the chute. The lot's, it's just shy of an acre. It goes in behind the garage and actually goes over 2 lots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's quite big. Like, I'm waiting for the neighbor's house to go up for sale so I can buy it and actually split that sliver off in the back and then resell the lot. That's kind of one of my ideas in the back burner.
But so you bought the property for
$170. Immediately I put in about 40, and that was in the garage, electrical. The driveway was actually higher than the house and the garage. So in the first spring, I just had like massive flooding problems. It was coming in windows, and I had to like lift my whole business off the ground because there was 6 inches of water in the garage. It was nasty. So I remedied all that, and then spring of 2015, I was sitting in the living room. I forget what I was doing, but I heard a floor joist. Actually, I didn't know what it was at first, but I found out it was a floor joist breaking, a loud crack, and that kind of started the whole renovation. And for about the first 6 months, I swung a hammer that I couldn't afford, just because the house was so unsafe. It was literally crumbling. The drywall was cracking, the floor joists were snapping, the proper footings weren't done underneath the house. It was just, so I just started digging and pouring footings and tearing walls down and starting to rebuild it. And in the background, I was kind of fighting VA for some compensation from an injury when I was in Afghanistan. And actually that kind of came right at the right time when I started to buy all the materials to put it into the house. So I just dumped everything I had into this house just so I could have a place to live. And what ended up happening was, about 3 months before I moved in, the property values around here just started skyrocketing, and I got a third-party appraiser to come in about 3/4 of the way through the renovations, and it was already appraised at enough to get my money back. So I kind of started doing some digging on exactly what I can do with the money, and that's kind of when I started going into the YouTube wormhole and found Bigger Pockets and you and everyone else, and found out what a BRRRR was. And it just kind of dawned on me, like, okay, well, I essentially just BRRRR'd this property without knowing it, minus the refinancing part. So I went back to the bank, and they did an appraisal once it was all done, and I actually made a little bit of a profit without even knowing. So I started swinging a hammer, not being able to afford a penny. This is the other deal I'm gonna look at.
Okay.
Yeah, without even being able to afford it, and it, like a horseshoe up my ass, it just, everything lined up, and realized that I could refinance, get everything back out. So when I did that, I kind of started getting back into the real estate ideas. I had student rentals before, so that was kind of my first experience with a BRRRR property, not even knowing. So now that, you know, not even planning it, things work out. When you're going into it with a plan, it's a lot easier to see how the process is going to work out, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't even know what to say with how the process started on that house, but I can tell you there's some days that, you know, I think I lost a little bit of hair. Maybe I can talk to Jeff for a little bit of his.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it was a really stressful time. Absolutely.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. I just keep going around this block because there's the other house.